What does it take to speak up when the whole world is trying to silence you? For Ida B. Wells, this was her life. She risked everything for her safety, connecting to her safety and her livelihood, just to tell people the truth. Ida B. Wells was not just a journalist during bad times. She was a moral face who used her voice to expose injustices and demand change, even when it was dangerous for her and the greater good. Today I'll explain how the community of womanhood still gets silenced today. Also, how Ida B. Wells molded ethical courage through her voice and actions. And lastly, how her legacy can inspire us to speak out and lift each other up. Today, let's begin to look at the challenges that still make it difficult for women to be heard. The community of womanhood still struggles to be believed, respected, and heard, especially when it's coming from a view of injustice. Today, I'm sure that every woman, when put next to a man, we are inferior, and we don't really get listened to, just for the sole purpose of being a woman. The community of womanhood still struggles with just talking. Whether it's being interrupted whenever we're talking in male spaces, or when it's in a courtroom, or being harassed online, or even just walking down the street. And let me give you some context of the times that Ida B. Wells was living in. She was living in the times where women were just being allowed to vote, and through many restrictions, she wasn't allowed to vote because of her race. So not only was she a woman, but she was also a black woman, which kind of bumped her down a little bit. During this time, when she was reporting, she would speak out about the truth and about things that were going on during this time, which was racial injustices and lynching, which was something that she kind of focused on. And something happened to her, which was after she wrote an article about lynching, and a white mob then destroyed her newspaper office right after she wrote about that, because they wanted to silence her and they didn't like hearing what she had to say, even if she was telling the truth or anything. They didn't like to hear what she had to say. And that also could have came from her being black, but it also came from her being a woman, and at this time women didn't have a voice. So after that, she did it more. She continued to write and put her articles out because she didn't want to let these people silence her about things that she was passionate about and things that needed to be said. And a little bit after that, her friend also a close friend got lynched as well. So after that, she did more research about it and wrote about it even more, which also angered everybody more because they didn't silence her. They didn't make her be quiet because they didn't like what she had to say. And she wrote more about racial injustices. She also did a speech called Lynch Law in All Its Phases, where she talked about lynching and everything. And even when everything of hers was destroyed, she continued to talk. And yet, in facing the silence, and yet after she was trying to be silenced by these people, she still continued. And people didn't like that. So more of her stuff got destroyed. But she continued to write and speak and organize things where people could speak out and not be afraid. Her courage wasn't just a persona, it was a public act of virtue. And it very much speaks to us today, or me today. By following in the example of Ida B. Wells, we can grow to be more courageous and ethical and empower not just women, but everyone around us in our communities. She teaches us to use our voices and challenge injustice for everyone, even people who can't speak up for themselves, like children or animals. So how we will carry her voice forward is Ida B. Wells once said, the way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them, which is something that speaks to me because people don't like when people tell the truth. And sometimes people get scared when you have to tell the truth about somebody else. But the truth always needs to be said and always needs to be brought to light, no matter how crazy it is, no matter who's saying it. It has to be brought to life. In a world that still tries to silence women today, we must speak loudly, but wisely and bravely, and all come together and follow in the path of Ida B. Wells, so that we don't just honor her and we become a part of our everyday lives and of change.